All right, let's get right into it. What we're gonna do here is boil down 3 whole decades of raw, in the trenches, entrepreneurial wisdom from Simon Squibb. We're talking about the lessons learned from building 19 companies and funding 78 startups, all packed into a powerful, actionable framework just for you.
And right off the bat, Simon throws down a challenge. Now, what's he getting at? Well, his point is that the focus it takes to watch this is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the grit you'll need to actually build a business. So if you're ready, let's prove you've got what it takes.
All right, first up, the spark. And we're immediately gonna flip the script on all that conventional wisdom you've heard, because a great business, it doesn't start where you think it does.
See, it all starts with a feeling, an instinct, an obsession. And here's what's so powerful about this. You don't actually need some groundbreaking, unique idea. I mean, Simon's first big win was an agency with 500 competitors. He didn't win with some secret formula. Nope. He won because he was absolutely obsessed with marketing. And that obsession, that's your real competitive advantage. It's the fuel that'll help you outlast every single one of your competitors.
So how do you actually channel that obsession? Well, you start by throwing out that rigid 20-page business plan that, let's be honest, usually dies the second it hits the real world. Instead, you create a mind map, just like this. It's fluid, it's visual, and it lets your business grow and connect ideas in ways a straight-up linear document just never ever could.
And this brings us to the big one, starting with zero money. The framework here is beautifully simple. First up, simple execution. Just start something, a blog, a podcast, a newsletter, anything. Just get going. Second, experiment with revenue. Don't get locked into one idea of how to make money. Test things out. And third, and this is crucial, find your purpose. A purpose that's bigger than just profit. That's the magnet that's going to pull in the right team and the right customers.
Okay, so you're off the ground. You started. Now comes the really hard part, the grind. And that brings us to the essential mindset for survival, what we're calling the hustle.
So, what's the secret weapon in this phase? It's all about delayed gratification. You've got to build value first and worry about monetizing later. Think about this. Simon's very first agency client, he did all the work for free, and that one act of building value first turned into a 16-year contract. I mean, look at the giants, Facebook, YouTube, Google. They all built these massive user bases by giving away incredible value for years before they even thought about running ads.
But hold on, it's not just about being patient, it's about working smart, not just hard. And that's when Simon throws this absolute grenade into the conversation. He says that the idea that the harder you work, the luckier you get, is a lie, designed to make you work your tail off for someone else. His proof? If it were true, every single nurse in the world would be a millionaire. So if grinding harder isn't the answer, then what is? Well, Simon argues you don't earn luck, you hack it, and here's how. First, be persistent. That obsession we talked about, it helps you outlast everyone. Second, know your destination. You have to define what success actually looks and feels like for you. And third, you have to learn to take risks. Real success isn't about working more hours, it's about embracing those calculated risks.
And look, taking risks means you absolutely have to be willing to fail. To win, you must learn how to lose. This is why, as Simon points out, you so often see D students end up hiring A students. Why? Because the A students are so conditioned to fear failure, they never take the big swings. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, they know that losing is just a critical part of the process of learning how to win.
Okay, so once you've got that mindset dialed in, you need to build the growth machine. So let's talk about the engine of your business, selling and marketing.
So, in a super crowded market, how do you possibly stand out? Simon's answer is what he calls the staircase philosophy. And this is a true story. He literally bought a famous $26,000 staircase just because it was for sale. The story was so bizarre, so wild, that it generated millions of dollars in free press all over the world. The lesson here is so powerful. Don't just advertise. Do something so remarkable that it becomes a story people feel like they have to share.
And his sales system, it's just as elegantly simple. Step 1, do they need you? Do your research first, then sell. Step 2, do you like them? You have to build a genuine connection. And look, if you have those two things, a real need and a real connection, then step 3, the deal, well, that's just gonna happen naturally. Of course, you can't build this engine all by yourself, and that brings us to the foundation of any great company, the team. It's all about people and purpose.
And this gets to a core principle of leadership. Manage the purpose, not the people. Think about it. If you hire people who truly, deeply believe in your purpose, you will never have to micromanage them. You get to stop managing tasks and instead, you manage the mission. That alignment? That's the real key to a motivated, autonomous team that gets stuff done.
But what about finding the right business partner? How do you do that? Well, you test their moral code. Simon asked this exact question to potential co-founders. Their answer tells you everything you need to know about their core values, which in the long run is way more important than just having complementary skills.
All right, finally, let's zoom all the way out to the long-term strategy. This is the end game, and it's all about thinking through your equity and what your ultimate exit might look like.
Now, there's a massive myth out there for founders, and it's that dropping below 51% equity means you've lost control of your company. That is completely 100% false. Look, equity ownership does not equal control. Control isn't defined by your percentage stake. It's defined in the legal shareholder agreement. You could own 10% and still have the final say on everything.
And when it comes to splitting equity with a co-founder, Simon is super adamant about this. Anything other than a 50-50 split is a huge mistake. A 52-48 split, for instance, might seem fair, but it just creates this psychological imbalance and breeds resentment right from day one. A true partnership has to be an equal one, period.
And that all leads us to the final and maybe most powerful question you need to ask yourself. Are you building a business to sell, or are you building a business you never, ever want to sell? Because here's the great paradox of business. The companies that everyone is desperate to buy are the ones that were built with so much passion, so much purpose, and so much love, the founder never intended to sell them in the first place.